Hello Pauper people and welcome back to a new Walls combo video, even though today is a little anomalous one because I had a great time at Paupergeddon last weekend in Lucca with more than or around 1000 players, and I was able to incredibly place into the top 64 on 43rd place with World Combo. That was totally unexpected, but more importantly, I had a blast. The tournament was great. Uh, nice location, seating places for probably 2000 players. There were multiple hundred big tournaments going on at the same time. Great judges, great people, great organization. Everything was very, very nice and even very good food, I would say, even though since I'm from that region, I might be biased. And the most important thing was actually that I could meet a lot of great players, and some of them are kind of online friends. I met again Walker 75 and Giorgio Combo. I met Carl and Thoralf from Car Market. We worked together in the best Pauper deck series last year. Everyone was so incredibly good, and for me, it's so nice. It's so unexpected that actually I had some fans there taking picture with me and these kind of things. Anyhow, the video will be just let's say a deck tech for the deck I played, followed by a short let's say summary or report for the rounds, and then some conclusions at the end. So without any further ado, let's go to the deck tech. Okay, we start first with the deck list that I played, and this is an evolution of the one that I've played for most of the last couple of months, more or less, with a lot of playtesting having been done in the last couple of weeks. With respect to the very latest one that was related to the challenge of about 10 days ago, what I changed is relatively minor in terms of main deck, while is substantial in terms of sideboard. What happened between that challenge and Paupergeddon? It happened that online there was a spike of Mono Red Madness decks and other decks that were giving me very hard times. On one side, based on the amount of 1/1s I was forced to play to maximize the elves synergy. On the other side, because whatever I was going to try, it was never going to solve the Monodred Madness problem, which can be summarized in one card, Gutter Snipe. If Gutter Snipe enters the field, we lose. So what I did change after a lot of tweaking in the main deck were a few slots. I removed the two elves and the third Rochleaf Collar, went back to two Tinderwolves, and added one Shieldwall Sentinel to the main deck. Let's say so, moving more on higher toughness, more defenders build. For a lot of the time, I was playing with 11 Forest and 4 Ents. That was 60 cards, but I found out that number of mulligans was not acceptable, especially because they were causing losses against matchups that I could otherwise win. So I increased the card number to 61 with the 12th forest. This proved to be very important. And during the whole Paupergeddon, I was very strict in mulliganing in order to have a proper two-land hand. In order to decide, I used the hypergeometric distribution just to see how much the changes were in playing 12 lands and 4 ends in a 60 card builds, 11 forest in a 60 or 12 in a 61. and in my opinion, the best was the 61 that allowed me to pack a little more power. The decklist is typical, so for whoever is not familiar with the concept, that surprisingly I found even during Paupergeddon, our aim is to enchant an Axebane Guardian or an Overgrown Battlement or at worst a Priest of Titania with Freedom from the Real or to pair it with a Galvanic Alchemist. Both these two blue cards allow for a cost to untap this big mana producer. If the big mana producers can produce at least one blue and more than the cost asked by the untap, of course we are going to generate infinite mana. Axebane does that naturally. It allows to generate infinite mana of any color. In order for this to happen with Overgrown Battlement and Priest of Titania, instead we need to couple them with Roachleaf Collar, that is a filter for green mana into mana of any other color. Once we have infinite mana, we have multiple ways to draw our kill card. The main one is Valakut Invoker, that just does infinite damages. The secondary one is Secret Door, that allows venturing multiple times into the dungeons to slowly kill the opponent. Secret Door, as well as Beast Rider Vanguard, allow with infinite mana to draw our own deck, so to basically find the kill card. In order for everything to work, we have a hefty set of tutors. Drift of Phantasm, which is a super good blocker, 0-5 flying, and also defender, that can transmute for a 3 casting cost card, meaning most of the important cards in our deck are this cost. So it tutors almost everything, including the whole combo, because Axebane, both Freedor, Galvanic Alchemist, and the kill card cost 3. Then we have Shieldwall Sentinel, which is a tutor for defenders that costs 4. It's also a defender. Finally, we have a typical green card draw in the form of Winding Way and Lead the Stampede. We use only 3 of those because I want to have at least 40 creatures in the main deck, and part of the card draw is supplied also by Beast Rider Vanguard. The closing cards are some utility cards like DeckTech, that is a defender, reach, that makes all our creatures having haste and allows to win in a single turn, which is important from time to time. And Repeat the Graves, which is a tutorable graveyard recursion card that is very, very important. Coming to the sideboard, basically what I decided to do was to keep at a minimum the cards against red, accepting basically to lose to it, because I tried multiples Hydroblast, multiples Nyleas, up to Hydroblast and 4, Weather the Storm, and nothing was working. So we just keep the minimum that I found useful, which is 3 Essence Wardens and 1 Pulse. Pulse is a relatively high life gain for a relatively low cost and is tutorable with Drift. Essence Warden helps with the synergy for elves, and it's incredibly good against a variety of decks, which are not the biggest one, but can be handled much easier with life gain, starting from Mono Blue Fairies, Green Red Ramp, Elves, especially very good against Mono Black Sacrifice, etc. etc. Then we had uh, a sort of typical reaction plan in one Mirror Shell Crab, which can counter also effects. This is very important, and its ability cannot be countered. We have 2 Fairy Macabres against mostly Wolf's Spy. Again, Fairy Macabre can be tutored by Drift. And then we maximized the slots against Grixis Affinity, where I would side in only 4 Vandals, because against Grixis, the plan is to try to mana screw them, especially for red. This is not possible for Jund or Gardens type of deck, where instead the best answer is a fast Avenging Counter. So we got to 4 and 4 of these, having a sort of transformational sideboard for those matchups. The side strategy was to side in mostly or maximum 4 cards per matchup, and usually we would cut Shieldwall Sentinels, possibly one Ant, possibly one Tinderwall, or one Tac Tac. All the rest was not negotiable. Having said so, we now pass to the next part of the video, where I briefly tell you about what I expected to face during Paupergeddon. So, what was my expected metagame? Of course, I was basing on my experience online and the results that were published. So, I was expecting three. So, what was my expected metagame? Of course, I was basing on my experience online and results that were published in the major sites. So, from my point of view, there were three big ones to expect. The three big ones were Mono Blue Terror, Mono Red Madness, and lumped together Clan Shamans decks, meaning mostly Grixis Affinity and Jund. I was expecting all of these to have about 12.5% each day one. This was a rough estimate, amazing that I would expect to meet at least one copy of each one day one, or I was expecting to meet about three of them day one. What I was then expecting, and I was very, very wrong about that, is that for day two, basically, Gutter Snipe will be significantly resized. This based on the fact that not so many mono red decks were doing well in the latest stage of tournaments, both online and live, while it seemed that Jund, Wildfire, mid-range decks that are very loved, historical, Paupergeddon, and Terror, would be still very well represented. For the three big ones, as we know, I kind of gave up Guttersnipe, hoping not to face it day one, and uh, possibly not to face that also day two. While I felt positive, significantly positive against Terror, and not so terribly down against the KCS decks due to the sideboard cards that, at least in leagues, allowed to reach up to 40% win rate, which is reasonably good for a bad matchup. Then there was all the rest. All the rest is a lot of decks. Green-red ramps, Arbor Elf, Gardens, Fogs with Crypt Wrath, uh, Mono Red Rally, Walls Spy with Balustrade, Spy, of course, Elves, but not only those. Heroic, various form of experimental synthesizers deck, Fairies in all versions, mostly mono blue, but also blue black and possibly blue red, White Winnies, mono black sacrifice, Titan Blade decks, and Kogates. All of these were going to be there. And for all of these, I think at worst, I was 50% in win rate. For many of those, I was actually positive, but for all of them, I was counting on the APAS effect, meaning that I expected to have much more experience playing those matchups than my opponent against walls. So I was kind of favorite by my experience with my own deck. There was also, excuse me, a very minor possibility of people recognizing me and then, kind of making mistakes or something, but this was really improbable. Actually, I was counting on people not knowing who I was or not knowing my deck, and this indeed happened during the tournament. So, uh, finishing this, what I was expecting for day one was to hopefully make the cut. Waltz Combo is a tier 3 4 deck at the moment, uh, so I could not be uh, extremely optimistic. I would have been happy even with a 50-50 score, something like 4-4, because as we saw, we were going to face at least a couple, if not more, of very bad matchups in Gutter Snipe and or KCS decks in the first 8 rounds. So what happened? Day one. The first day was going to be 8 rounds of Swiss, with everyone having at least 18 points. Yeah, at least 21 points, I would say, advancing for to day two. Our goal was to hopefully get into day two and, as a minimum, just go 50-50. We started very well, meaning that at round one, our opponent did not show up. He was probably coming from somewhere else and had traffic issues or whatever. There was also a big strike in Italy that day. Anyhow, we kind of got the round one by. We got the automatic 2-0 win, and we went up, of course, 1-0 in matches. Round two was against very nice Italian players. I will say that multiple times, but all my opponents this day were incredibly nice. Even when they lost or when I lost, the atmosphere and the poker culture is so good. I play since a lot of time, and I was hitting the qualifier circuit in the early, let's say, late 90s, early 2000, and the atmosphere was so much worse at that time. Anyhow, coming back to round two, we were against a sort of, let's say, brew, basically a UR Scred deck, uh, winning with Murmuring Misting, but with a green splash for a few cards, and the most important of them was, of course, Riding Chrysalis. For us, this deck was not too hard because it was kind of slow compared to the speed we're used to. So we won after quite a bit of interaction in the very first few turns. The first game, we sided in just a couple of generic cards, one Pulse and one Crab, removing one Tinderwall and one Silver Sentinel. And then we proceeded to win also game two, more or less in the same time. They could pose some interaction, killing some of the early creatures, but they could not stop all of our things and all of our card draw. So we win once again, or for the real first time, 2-0, and we move to the 2-0 bracket. Round three was against a player from Genova, uh, playing blue-white familiars. The matchup is a 50-50 thing, but unfortunately on my side it was really variance related. Game one, I think it was on the play. I had to mulligan and had a kind of a slow hand, but I positioned myself in order to play a lead the Stampede when my opponent had just played a Sunscape and had only one mana up. But they had just drawn the single main deck negate that crippled me totally. Game two, we sided in a generic package, Macabres, Crab, and Pulse, removing the Tinder Walls and the two Shield Sentinels. This is one of the two possible strategies. On the play, we can also side in the four Avenging Hunters, and in that case, we remove three Shield Sentinels in one hand. Anyhow, we started with a very good elf hand, Quirion into Priest of Titania that was going to explode the turn 3, but unfortunately for me, opponent had turn 2 the last breath on the Priest. That again slowed me a lot. They were able to develop their Sunscape, and in the crucial turn, they had two 1 mana counters for my spells. So we very sadly lose a matchup that it can go either way, 0-2, and we move to the 2-1 bracket, which is not very good for our tiebreaker. Round 4, we met a very good matchup. Let's say the first very good matchup for the day of the, let's say, non-brew decks, in the form of green-red ramp, arbor elves, cascade creatures, etc. In this matchup, the only cards that for us really matter are the banner hide guy that can be discarded, paying 1 green, 1 colorless to give +2/+2 at instant speed, and ramp through. Uh, Game 1, we were just faster. I think we were on the play and we turned 4 uh, with ease against the opponent. Uh, Possibly we had to block, but nothing really important. We sided in the standard, let's say, life gain package uh, that is composed by the 3 essence wardens and the pulse, removing the 3 shipable sentinels and the end, just because they are slower and I prefer the cheaper options. Again, the game was relatively easy, no big problem for opponent. We gained a lot of life. They could not really threaten us, and we were able to reasonably easily combo them. We win 2-0 and we move to 3-1. Round 5, we get to play against another Italian player uh, playing Mono Black Sacrifice. That used to be a very hard deck for me to beat before I found the Essence Ward and deck, let's say, because Essence Ward really destroys their deck. The only, let's say, golden rule against this deck is that you have to block practically always, unless you are mathematically sure they cannot kill you in that turn. Game 1, we I think we're again on the play. We had to block once, but then had the normal combo without much interaction by opponent. I think it was kind of mana limited this game. We sided in, like for the last matchup, the life game package, and we proceed to win relatively easily also game 2 with help of life gain and again opponent being a little mana screwed. We Well, actually, this was a bit good thing because we could kind of easily block only one of the big creatures and they could not in any way kill us before we combo them out. Otherwise, we would have had to sack an additional creature and maybe we could have not had the mana to do everything. So we win once again 2-0 and we move to 4-1. Round 6, we face the first one of the big three, one of the hard ones, even though luckily it was not Goddess Grixis Affinity. Game 1, we kind of tricked them because we had a very good hand with 2 lands, 2 Priest of Titania, Overgrown Battlement, a lot of other good cards. So we started with double Priest of Titania, pretending to be elves, and hoping the opponent would KCS for 1 or something like that, which they did, because of course they could not leave unattended double Priest of Titania, opening me endless possibility on turn 3. After that, I started deploying my big defenders and card draw, and they could not find another big answers in time. So we kind of still stole game 1 unexpectedly. The sideboard package, as we said in the deck tech, was just siding in 4 Vandals for 3 Shirvan Sentinels, in this case 1 tack because of course we need both Tidal Walls or Nth to fuel a turn 2 Vandal. Opponent had some, I think they mulliganed and had some mana issues, meaning they were forced on only 2 lands and no red land. We were able to develop, actually Vandal, one of their bridges. They could not find anything in time, and the plan perfectly worked. This is the plan. Just try to stop their mana development, the 1-2 turns that are needed for us to win. So, unexpectedly, we win 2-0 again against one of the very hard matchups, and we move to 5-1. Round seven was a sort of same mirror, meaning we were playing against Wolf Spy, which of course I kind of designed in the very first iteration on suggestion by Giorgio Combo. But I don't like to play, and all the development was done by the players, especially the Discord players, both in the Wars Discord and in the FAMS Discord. Anyhow, the matchup is usually a race. So first of all, I uh, kind of did the most important thing, that was winning the die roll game one. This allowed me to reasonably easily combo them before they could kill me. I was lucky they didn't have the Balustrade Spy. We sided in the anti-spy package, which is basically interaction with the graveyard and or minor counterspell for the usual slow cards. We went back and forth in this game. Saw they were not having spies, but and was having a good mana, but they found kind of back to back in anyhow two mesmeric fiends that crippled me quite a bit. And then, as a champ, I just top decked the Valakut Invoker that allowed me to kill one mesmeric fiend that was holding a Galvanic Alchemist. They didn't find the spy, so they had to pass the turn, and I killed them with the cards I just got back from their mesmeric. So once again, a good, let's say, luck moment, but also uh, quite, yeah, I know how to play the matchup as best as possible. Once again, we win to 0, and we move to 6-1 to the last match for day one, which was against Raktos Magnus and the first, let's say, big player from MATGO that, or at least player from MATGO that I recollect, that was Dario SMP. Uh, that, by the way, on leagues, they usually kill me all the time. They were playing Rakdos Madness, and this was by far the most beautiful match I had the whole weekend, because it was extremely well fought and lasted the whole 3 rounds. Game one, usual back and forth, with them trying to kill me, me trying to survive. In the end, I was able to overcome with card draw very good hits from Winding Ways and Lead the Stampede, their own card advantage, and I won. Once again, we put in the uh, life game package. In this case, we side out the Tinderwall because we want all the rich creatures and life gain possible. Game 2 was very, very good. I had something like, I think, 1 and 2 Essence Warden going for quite a bit, even though he was attacking all the time. And I went up multiple times to around 40 lives. I was even able to play two genre stands that usually are very good, but the version that I was playing had 4 Dark Withering and 2 Extract a Confession, which is totally unusual. Online, typically, the people that play this kind of cards have 2 and 2. So I was kind of destroyed by the third unexpected Dark Withering they played. The game went very, very long. So we move to game 3, and again we have a lot of life gain that allow us to not being overwhelmed. We have hands. I think in one case they made a minor mistake, kind of suiciding an imp into an end, but that I could untap with Quirion, but it was minor. And after quite a lot of time, we were able to beat them. So we win 2-1, and we end up the date with an incredible result for our tier 2000 deck, which is 7-1. We were tied up with, I think, the top 16, but we ended up at the very last position of the 7-1 guys in 30 position with the worst tiebreakers. That is fine. I mean, we didn't have round one opponent and we lost already round three. So this was expected. In any case, I was ecstatic, super happy of the results. I actually played well, meaning that I didn't do any major mistake. I was reasonably lucky, especially with pairings, because we fought only one of the big three and we won. And in multiple cases, to be honest, as you have seen, I won a lot of matches 2-0. I could feel I knew the matchup better than my opponent. So let's go to day two. Day two, six additional rounds to try to get into top eight, which is really unlikely, but to get the best possible result, that will be for me to be in the prizes. Top 32 will be ideal. Round nine, round nine, we play against a super nice player from Sardinia who was playing familiars, but on a tricky list based also on Cryogenic Relic and Abure that surprised me quite a bit. Game one. Game one was very long and thought out. I was thinking I could lose at any time, but in the end, uh, they just didn't have it. At some point, I had to go for it, hoping they had only one counter, which they did. So my bait was successfully countered, and then I could win unexpectedly since they basically had only additional length in hand. We sided out as before the Tinder Walls and two Shield Wall Sentinels to the Anti-Graveyard Parkage and the Crab. And game two actually was much easier for us. They were slower at least, had less interaction than game one, and we could kind of easily overwhelm them due to our speed. As always in this kind of matchups, if we can develop our mana, then we can always try to do two spells per turn, and they rarely have enough mana to counter or control everything. So we start great again day two, we win to 0, and we move to 8-1, where we actually receive our first feature match against the eventual winner playing on Red Madness. This was super cool on multiple levels. First of all, being on a feature match for myself is something totally unexpected. Then both of us are for Prisa, even though now I'm technically a Dutch Pauper League, and I actually never really played in Pisa due to work reasons. But we also are both aerospace or space propulsion engineer. We learned in the same university and very similar curricula, even though, of course, I'm much, much older. The stream, even though it's kind of painful to watch if you like walls, is linked in the description. So this image is not a mistake because we actually got destroyed by multiple giant gutter snipe both games. I didn't have very great hands. I tried to do whatever I could. Game 2, I actually was able to gain something like 10 additional lives between Essence Warden and Pulse, but it was ridiculous. Uh, Giovanni played perfectly, and of course, he did not need much to beat us. This is our almost impossible matchup. We sadly lose 0-2, and we go down to 8-2, which was a problem because I was seeing a lot of bad matchups around us. In fact, round 11 against an Austrian player, we are against another one of the bad three, Jan the Wildfire. Uh, we again didn't have a very great hands, and they always had whatever they need, in particular a lot of KCSs and a lot of refurbished familiars. They are able to wipe our board uh, game one. So we side in the Avenging Hunter package for game two. We didn't draw it, but we had a reasonably good hand. They had to remove various things, and they played a Krark with very few artifacts on board. So we went for it because there is no point in not trying to, but of course they had the toxin analysis as well. So we lose once again 0-2. So starting getting destroyed as expected against our bad matchups, and we move down more to 8-3, only to face another nice player, but on Gutter Snipe again. This time, I think variance got us, meaning that game one on the play, I mulliganed to 4 because I had 3 consecutive zero landers, had a not so great hand, and kind of whiffed with a card draw as well, and they killed me relatively easily. Game two, actually, the life game package worked a little better. They didn't draw the gutter snipe, and with a big surprise, they weren't able to kill me in the turn I was supposing to be killed. So I was allowed to untap with a lot of mana and an active Beast Rider Vanguard. I needed uh, only to find the infinite mana. They were tapped out, and it was kind of clear they didn't have a Fire Blast because otherwise I was going to be dead the turn before. I had 4 look in total, meaning the card drawn plus the Vanguard activation, and I didn't find the infinite mana. I had another Vanguard activation to see the top of my deck, but of course I couldn't do anything because my mana was finished by that time. And of course, the 5th card was a Freed or a Galvanic Alchemist. So we sadly lose once again 0-2 to our worst matchup, and we move even further down in the scoring to 8-4. Round 13, we match against an Italian player recently moved back from Japan. Super cool. On the Wolf Spy. Uh, Game one is reasonably fought, but as kind of usual, I'm fast, and I think I even top decked the Freed at the correct moment to win without much problems. Game two, they were they didn't have the fast kill, if I remember correctly, and instead I could develop, and it was clear that due to Winding Ways or Leader Stampede that they had to kill the successive turn. So they kind of tried to go for it, but in order to play the spy, they had to sack a Tinderwall that left them with 0 card in library, all the creatures in the graveyard, but only 2 creatures on board, so they could not do anything. Basically, they could not win, and we finally won again, moving to 9-4. Last round, unexpected. Sorry, we met Dredge. At the beginning, opponent play a Kalni Garden followed by a swamp, so I was super sad, meaning about expecting a garden matchup, but then Stink with Deep or Satyr Wayfinder came out, so it was much better for us. This matchup is usually very good for us. I typically used to lose a lot online to Marzaboy, who is or was the master of Dredge, but in most other cases I could win relatively easily. I won game one, sided in the usual package for game two, but they didn't have a very good hand and allowed me to untap turn, I think 4 or 5 with a lot of mana and very good cards. So I went for the line Shirbolts, I went for the line Tak into Beast Rider Vanguard, chaining multiple, um, I will tell you, chaining multiple defenders, and finally having exact mana to drift for the Freed and kill them. We win again to 0. We go up to 10-4, which was a pretty reasonable score, and we ended up in the middle of the package of the 30 points player in 43rd position. So we were top 64, we won prizes, and we were incredibly happy. A very great experience for me, especially once again the play and the opponents were so nice. Got the snipe, not so well, but and Kalkar Shaman as always, but we will skip this part. So what could we do next? Uh, First of all, I will probably start wasting ticks online on brews or something because I like to try things. So I might try for fun the 100 walls deck, a deck that is 120 cards or something, or go on with the Flicker Sunscape Defender deck with Cryogenic Relic. But for future tournaments, we must, or we need, because must is a difficult word to enforce, to beat mono red. I think the best strategy that I could see was at Paupergeddon played by Giorgio Combo. That was on elves, but of course elves and wolves nowadays share a bit of things, and it's based on 4 ends for Sagus in order to have access to blue mana and gingerbread cabin, and then a lot of cards in the sideboard just for mono red. They could be Hydroblast, they could be Blue Elemental Blast, or even Monstrous Emergence, since we have a few cards that are big beaters. I have put on a first test list that is here. Please do not play it. It's totally untested, has to be balanced in multiple ways, meaning I have to lose a lot with it before I find a possible working configuration. The main deck is more or less okay, not many major variations with respect to the list we played at Geddon. The sideboard is of course totally dominated by the anti-red cards, meaning we had to remove a lot of other cards useful in other matchups. So I expect multiple other ones might be worse now, but we will find out only with testing. Having said so, thank you for listening all these rambling if you did up to now. Again, congratulations to Giovanni for winning the whole tournament and to the organization of Paupergeddon. That was amazing. And again, to all the players, the opponents, the fans that I met there. See you to the next video. I don't know exactly when. And for now, ciao.